Good morning and welcome to our morning devotions. And we've been going through the book A View from the Zoo by Gary Richmond. And hopefully you've been enjoying this. We're on a chapter called The Theme Building. And you can see it here. And let's get started. The zoo was opened in September of 1966. It began its marbled history as the world's fifth largest zoo, and is the only zoo in modern history that was actually opened as a major zoo. In addition, it had several distinctions. First, we accumulated more rare and endangered animals than any zoo in the world. And second, by the end of the third year, 52% of our collection was breeding annually. Those two statistics were very prized in the zoo world and commanded an early respect, but they also engendered a fair amount of jealousy. There were many criticisms of the Los Angeles Zoo when it was first built. Some were justified and some were not. For starters, it was built on a golf course, which had produced a fair amount of revenue for the city, whereas the zoo lost a bundle of money every year. Also, the newly planted grounds made it look like a desert. And during the first summers, the sun fried anybody foolish enough to come without some sort of shade, and visitors were blinded by the stark gray exhibits wherever they went. It was often accused of being a concrete jungle, and it was. The zoo was often criticized for a lack of showmanship as well. The supervisors resented presenting animals in acts of any kind. Their philosophy was that the zoo was an educational institution and ought not to pander to man's baser desires to be entertained when he ought to be educated. The zoo was divided into 9 sections: North America, South America, Africa, Australia, and Eurasia. And then there were those specialty sections: aquatics, birds, reptiles, and the children's petting zoo and nursery. The public rejected this arrangement at first because it made seeing their favorite type of animal more difficult. If you liked monkeys, for instance, you would have to visit Africa, Eurasia, and South America to see them all. And in so doing, you would have seen a number of animals that you didn't want to see. In the middle of the zoo stands its most prominent architectural feature, the theme building. It is placed on a rise that overlooks a fair portion of the main zoo, and its twin spires ascend 10 stories into the sky. It's African, Indian, and Asian in appearance and really does set the architectural mood for the rest of the zoo. It's called the theme building, but what it really turned out to be was an extremely expensive roof with a dirt floor. You see, the committee that worked with the architect could not agree on what could go under the magnificent roof. The architect was able to convince them that they could decide later what would be built underneath it. As for now, he said, it's the theme and was too important of a concept to be left out, so it was built. Let's show you a picture again just so you can kind of see what it looked like. All right, back at it. As time passed, the debate raged on. Some thought the theme building should be turned into an expensive restaurant, others a gift shop, and some an educational center. Year followed year, and all that the roof ever achieved was to provide shade for picnickers. Inexpensive benches were placed there, and here and there, under its ample eaves, and zoo patrons simply ate lunches they had furnished for themselves. The zoo has changed in hundreds of ways in the last 20 years. Waterfalls and expensive rockworks are everywhere. The trees are tall and full and provide more than enough shade for zoo patrons at any hour of the day. The animal collection is rare and beautiful, and not many people are complaining anymore. It's really a beautiful zoo, one of the very best. But you know what? The finest architectural monument at the zoo is still $1 million roof with a dirt floor. It hasn't changed at all. It stands empty after all these years. No one could decide what should go inside of it, so empty it stays. When I think about the theme building, it makes me wonder how many people go for 20 or 30 years without bringing something meaningful into their lives. The prophet Elijah spoke to his own people who could not decide what to bring into their lives. His speech is found in 1 Kings 18:21. And Elijah came near to all the people, and he said, "How long will you go limping with two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If it is Baal, then follow him." And the people did not answer a word. We were designed to be God's architectural wonder. We were made to be the temple of the Holy Spirit. Are you standing empty without his presence? Are you existing without anything inside? If you haven't before, let him build your life into something meaningful. And that's the end of today's devotional. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below, maybe about something that you got from this devotional, and maybe it's just a way to encourage others. Maybe you could even describe how you were filled with the Holy Spirit. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for joining us.